Ever get that nagging feeling that even with the smartest marketing plan, something's still holding you back? You've analyzed your target audience, you've crafted compelling messages, chosen the perfect channels, yet the results feel, well, just okay.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It makes you wonder if there are bigger forces at play, things outside your immediate control that are shaping the entire landscape.
That feeling is spot on. Often, when meticulously planned marketing strategies underperform, the reasons lie not within the campaign itself, but in the broader environment in which it operates, the macro environment.
The macro environment.
These are indeed powerful, often unseen forces at work.
Okay. Macro environment. That sounds significant.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, what exactly are we aiming to understand about it?
Our goal today is, well, to give you a clear picture of this macro environment. We'll break down what it encompasses, explore its essential components, and really dig into why understanding it is so vital, whether you're actively involved in business or maybe just fascinated by how markets function.
And we're not just relying on hunches here, right? We've got some solid material to guide us through this.
Absolutely. We'll be drawing on resources that offer a structured and insightful framework for understanding the macro environment and its profound implications for marketing, for business strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive in. What fundamentally is this macro environment we keep talking about?
At its heart, the macro environment is basically the collection of large-scale external factors that influence a company's ability to achieve its objectives.
Objectives like profit, staying competitive.
Exactly, particularly profitability and maintaining a competitive stance. It's sometimes referred to as the broad environment.
The broad environment, okay.
The key thing to remember is that while individual companies can't directly control these factors, they really set the stage for all business activity.
So you can't change them, but you have to know about them.
Precisely. Therefore, being aware of and, importantly, anticipating shifts within this environment is absolutely crucial.
Okay, it's the big, uncontrollable context. So how do we even begin to analyze something so vast and, well, encompassing?
That's where having a structured approach is invaluable. A particularly helpful framework for dissecting the macro environment is the PESTLE framework.
PEST, B-E-S-T-L-E.
That's the one. It's an acronym that helps us categorize the 6 key areas we need to consider.
PESTLE, got it. So let's break down what each of those letters represents. Where do we start?
Okay, the P stands for political and legal factors.
Political and legal.
Yeah, this includes government policies, legislation, regulatory frameworks at all levels, local, national, even international.
Can you give us a concrete example how these political and legal factors impact actual marketing decisions?
Yeah, sure. A prime example is the historical ban on tobacco advertising in mass media across many countries.
Oh, right. Huge change.
Exactly. This political and legal decision fundamentally reshaped how tobacco companies could market their brands. It forced them to innovate with alternative strategies. Things like point-of-sale promotions or maybe brand extensions in other areas. It really illustrates how businesses must not only comply with regulation,
I have to,
but also think strategically about how to operate and maybe even find opportunities within those boundaries.
Right, the rulebook definitely dictates the playing field. Okay, what's next in PESTLE? After P.
The E represents economic factors.
Economic makes sense.
This covers elements like the purchasing power of consumers, inflation rates, interest rates, unemployment levels.
So the money stuff.
Yeah, and also the overall distribution of income within a society. It's quite broad.
How do these broad economic trends translate into the day-to-day of marketing, though?
Well, think about it this way. When the economy slows down, maybe the consumer confidence index dips.
People get nervous.
Yeah, exactly. We often see a shift not just towards cheaper options, but also a greater scrutiny of value.
Ah, value, not just price.
Right. Marketers might then pivot from emphasizing luxury, say, to highlighting durability or long-term cost savings. Understanding these economic signals can really inform decisions about, well, promotional timing or how you position your product's value proposition.
Makes perfect sense. When people are feeling the pinch, their priorities change. Okay, P. ES in PESTLE.
S stands for social and sociocultural factors.
Social, so society.
Exactly. This encompasses a wide array of societal elements, things like cultural norms, values, beliefs, demographic trends, education levels, and importantly, evolving lifestyles.
So we're talking about the way people live and what they actually care about.
Precisely. A significant example we're witnessing globally is the increasing emphasis on health and wellness.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere.
And this social shift has fueled a massive surge in demand for organic foods, fitness products, preventative healthcare services, you name it.
So marketers need to watch this stuff closely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marketers who fail to recognize and respond to these evolving social values and lifestyle trends risk becoming increasingly out of touch with their target audiences.
Yeah.
You just get left behind.
Definitely. You can't market purely on price. If a significant portion of your audience prioritizes sustainability, for example.
Okay.
PES. What about T?
T is for technological factors.
Technology. Always changing.
Always. This is all about new innovations, advancements in automation, the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, and the accelerating pace of digitalization across pretty much all sectors.
Technology seems to be constantly disrupting everything.
Sure.
How does this rapid evolution impact marketing strategies?
Oh, the impact is transformative. Consider how the emergence of ride-hailing apps.
Like Uber or Lyft.
Exactly. They didn't just revolutionize personal transportation. They also created entirely new models for on-demand services and logistics.
Sure.
So for marketers, it's not enough to just be aware of these technological shifts. They need to be proactive, really explore how these new tools and platforms can be leveraged to connect with consumers in more innovative and hopefully effective ways.
Be a pioneer, not just a spectator, in the tech arena.
Got it. Okay, P-E-S-T, now we have an L and an E left. But wait, the first P included legal. You said political and legal.
Good catch.
Our notes highlight a second L aspect. What's the distinction here?
That's a key point, actually. While the initial political legal focused more on the broader governmental and regulatory landscape, the big rules,
Right.
this second L typically delves into more specific legal considerations, things like patent law, copyright regulations, intellectual property rights, industry-specific standards.
So more granular legal stuff.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
These are crucial for protecting innovation and ensuring fair market practices.
Can you give us a practical example of this second legal element?
Sure. Think about pharmaceutical companies. Before they can bring a new drug to market.
Huge process. Massive. They have to navigate complex patent regulations to protect their inventions and comply with stringent industry standards related to safety and efficacy.
Makes sense.
Similarly, in the food industry, labeling requirements and health claims are heavily regulated. Meeting these legal obligations isn't just about ticking boxes, it's fundamental to building consumer trust and operating ethically.
So this legal is more about the specific rules governing innovation and how industries conduct themselves. Okay. And finally, the last letter, E. P-E-S-T-L-E.
The final E in PESTLE stands for environmental factors.
Environmental. Okay.
This encompasses environmental concerns, the growing emphasis on sustainability, climate change, resource scarcity, and related issues.
This feels like it's moved from maybe a niche concern years ago to a really mainstream imperative now.
Absolutely. It's a huge shift. We're seeing a significant and growing demand from consumers for environmentally responsible products and practices.
Like packaging.
For instance, yes, the increasing pressure on companies to adopt sustainable packaging or reduce their carbon footprint isn't just a passing trend.
It feels more permanent.
It really reflects a fundamental shift in consumer values and a growing awareness of environmental impact. Businesses that ignore this, well, they do so at their peril.
Okay, so PESTLE gives us this framework, this structure, to analyze these big external forces: political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental. But why is actively analyzing this macro environment so crucial? Why put in the effort?
Well, analyzing the macro environment provides several critical advantages. First and foremost, it enables the early identification of emerging opportunities.
Finding the next big thing.
Potentially, yeah. Or spotting potential threats before they become major problems. By understanding these broad shifts, businesses can proactively adapt their strategies.
So be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Capitalize on new possibilities or mitigate potential risks before they escalate.
That makes perfect sense, seeing the horizon, not just what's right in front of you. What other benefits does this analysis offer?
It also forms a vital foundation for strategic planning. Specifically, it's a key input for conducting a comprehensive SWOT analysis.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
That's the one. And for developing robust marketing strategies that are actually aligned with the realities of the external world.
Grounded in reality.
Precisely. Furthermore, understanding the macro environment is essential for more accurate market and trend forecasting.
Predicting the future, sort of.
Well, making more informed predictions anyway. It allows businesses to make better decisions about future investments and resource allocation. Ultimately, it fosters agility and resilience in a constantly evolving marketplace.
So it's not just about knowing these factors exist, but actively using that knowledge to shape your business decisions. Okay. Now, our notes also mention something called a marketing information system, or MIS.
Ah, yes, the MIS.
How does that fit in? How does it help with this macro environmental analysis?
The marketing information system plays a crucial role here. It systematically gathers, analyzes, and disseminates relevant market data.
So it manages the data flow.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Including information about the macro environment. Think of it as the organizational infrastructure that helps marketers stay informed about daily market activities.
What you called marketing intelligence.
Exactly, marketing intelligence.
Yeah.
And it helps identify broader trends that might be indicative of macro environmental shifts. A well-designed MIS supports data-driven decision-making across all marketing functions.
Including reacting to pestle factors.
Definitely, including how a company responds to changes in the external landscape.
You've got an analogy here. In the notes, you describe the MIS as a watchtower. Can you elaborate on that? Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I like that analogy. Imagine a ship preparing to navigate complex waters.
Okay.
Before setting sail, the captain needs a comprehensive understanding of, the weather patterns, potential navigational hazards, the overall environmental conditions.
Needs the full picture.
Right. The MIS acts like that watchtower, providing a continuous stream of information about the market landscape, including those broader macro-environmental factors. It ensures the ship, the business, has the necessary intelligence to navigate effectively and hopefully avoid potential storms.
I like that a strategic early warning system for the business makes it very clear. To make this really stick, can you share some real-world examples? How have shifts in the macro environment had tangible impacts on businesses recently?
Absolutely. The COVID-19 pandemic is a powerful, if unfortunate, example.
Right, unavoidable.
It touched on both the health crisis itself, and social factors like massive changes in behavior and priorities.
Everything changed overnight, it felt like.
It really did. The sudden and widespread disruption forced businesses across almost every sector to rapidly pivot to digital platforms. We witnessed an unprecedented acceleration in the adoption of e-commerce, remote work, digital communication.
A huge social and technological shift driven by an environmental health event.
Precise.
That was a seismic shift that no one could have fully predicted, certainly not the scale of it. What's another illustration?
Okay, consider the recent regulatory changes impacting TikTok Shop in Indonesia.
Ah, the e-commerce regulations. That's political and legal.
Exactly. This political and legal development has significantly altered how small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, can conduct online sales there. It presented both challenges and opportunities.
How so?
Well, while some businesses had to adapt very quickly to the new rules, maybe find new platforms.
A big headache for them.
For sure. But it also created a vacuum, a space that new local e-commerce platforms are now trying to fill. So opportunity amidst disruption.
Interesting. So government regulations can really reshape entire online marketplaces almost instantly. Okay, one more example to bring this home.
How about the ongoing fluctuations in global fuel prices? That's a clear economic factor.
Yeah, gas prices affect everything.
They have far-reaching consequences. For logistics companies, increased fuel costs directly impact their operational expenses and consequently their pricing strategies.
Shipping gets more expensive.
Right. And similarly, manufacturers of consumer goods face tough decisions. Do they absorb these higher transportation costs or pass them on to consumers through price increases? Or maybe they adjust packaging, shrinkflation,
Yeah, smaller packages, same price.
That's a common response.
These examples really highlight how these seemingly abstract, large-scale forces, pestle factors, have very concrete and practical implications for businesses of all sizes. So for our listeners who are in marketing roles, maybe feeling some of these pressures, what are some actionable steps they can take? How can they become more attuned to and effectively analyze the macro environment?
Okay, a few key things. Firstly, make the analysis of the macro environment a regular, integrated part of your planning process.
Not just a one-off project.
Exactly. Not something you do once a year and forget about. The business landscape is constantly evolving, so continuous monitoring is essential. It needs to be a habit.
A habit. Okay, what else?
Secondly, prioritize reliable and credible data sources for your analysis.
Not just social media opinions.
Definitely not just that, though that can be a signal. But really look beyond anecdotal evidence and social media chatter to established research reports, government publications, reputable industry analyses, solid data.
Got it. Reliable sources.
And finally, don't feel overwhelmed by the scale of it. Start with simple yet effective frameworks like the pestle analysis we've discussed.
Keep it manageable.
Yes, and consider integrating it with other strategic tools you might already use, like SWOT, for a more holistic view. Pestle feeds right into the opportunities and threats part of SWOT.
So it's about building a consistent habit, relying on solid information, and starting with practical tools. That's great, tangible advice. Okay, to bring it all together then. It sounds like focusing solely on your internal operations, your product, your immediate marketing tactics, while ignoring this broader external context. That's a pretty risky approach.
Precisely. It's akin to a ship captain meticulously checking the compass and the engine room,
Everything internal.
but completely disregarding the ominous storm clouds gathering on the horizon or the changing currents.
Not looking outside.
Right. You might have a fantastic product and brilliant advertising campaigns, but if you're sailing against strong macro-environmental headwinds, maybe a recession or a huge regulatory change, your journey is going to be considerably more challenging, maybe even impossible.
So the key isn't just about driving sales today, but about constantly observing and understanding the world around you and how it's changing.
Exactly. Because at its core, effective marketing is environment-aware marketing. You have to be aware.
Environment-aware marketing, that's a powerful way to frame it. So for you, our listener, here's a final thought to consider as we wrap up. What's one significant macro-environmental shift think pestle that's currently impacting your specific industry or area of interest?
Good question to ponder.
And how might you, or businesses in that area, need to adapt to navigate those changes effectively? Something to really think about until our next deep dive.